Right, so basically, part of the reason why we see a more likely chance of a rate hike next week is number one, like you said, the CPI came in line with what expectations were. Markets are rejoicing on that. And also, let's be fair, we haven't heard about a new bank failure since yesterday, really, or since the weekend. So the markets are calming down a little bit. There's not as much fear out there of contagion, and that means risk on. Bitcoin is just ripping here to the upside. Now, 30,000 could be on the horizon, but just be aware you're right into some resistance, this upsloping kind of channel level. Let's watch to see how Bitcoin reacts right at this level here. So just to give you a sense of what I'm doing here, on this latest dump down here, right? So if last time that you had me on, we were trading right off of this area here. We talked about this bear flag. I was short a bunch of cryptocurrencies. We were talking about the rollover. I did cover those cryptos down here when we got the fear and panic the other day. And then I ended up flipping into some longs. In this latest move up, I've gotten out of most of my crypto, in fact, all of my cryptocurrency long positions, and I just unloaded my Bitcoin long right up here. Now, please understand, everyone that's hearing this, I'm a very short-term trader, so this has nothing to do with where Bitcoin is going to be in 2 weeks from now. It's all about short-term 3-bar surge, 1, 2, 3. That's an exhaustion move, and we're into this upper level. So for me, I actually did nibble on a little on the short side here, shorting Ethereum up in this range as well. And again, that's a very quick trade. I'm looking for a couple-day pullback, but ultimately, again, my guess is we're going to get some sort of retrace before we get that another move up. Well, so let's be honest. Number one, this is the Fed causing the banking collapse. That is the culprit, right? The Fed basically said transitory inflation, now 2 years ago, whatever it may be, and they were blinded and they didn't see the inflation coming. What ended up happening was they had to overreact and jack rates up super, super quickly. That then put a strain on these regional banks and a lot of the banking system and caused it to break. So again, we look at, you have to ask yourself, and this is what I ask myself all the time, does the Federal Reserve actually benefit the financial system, or does it hurt the financial system? And I think you could argue that it actually does more harm than good. And we've seen that throughout the ages of what they do. But at this stage, yes, the government's backstopping deposits above 250,000, which is the FDIC insurance level. But again, I think this is a short-term fix. And if there's any reason to get more bullish on crypto, I mean, look at this. When you see the fiat money system in disarray, hey, Bitcoin looks pretty dang good.
Yeah. Gareth, take me to the Dixie, because I see the Dixie at 103.5. And the last time we spoke, this thing was at about 106. And we were talking about whether or not you said it would probably hit big resistance at about just under 106. I think you were spot on. I think that was a turning point. You said that the resistance was about 105.62. That's where it was. Yep. That was before we got there. Now we're on the way down again after this bank collapse. What do you think?
Yeah, so my guess is what in general you'll see is further downside on the dollar, which will be good in general for commodities, cryptocurrencies as well. And I think the big pivot here is that you're getting in a point now where the Fed has to realize that if they're going to hike rates anymore, they're going to break more of the financial system. And so they're going to have to back off. It doesn't mean we won't get a quarter basis point, maybe one more time. But my guess is the Fed is pretty much done here. And that's what Bitcoin is sensing. That's what crypto is sensing. And that's what also the money flowing into stocks today and yesterday is as well. So the Fed is virtually done hiking now, basically because they've broken the system and they can't do it anymore.
Let's look at the S&P 500. It broke down below the channel, like you said.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So this was that channel we talked about. We did break down, and this is where things diverge. Usually a weaker dollar is good for the stock market. I think in the near term here, you're going to get a retrace back to this low-end trend line. So there's a tendency, once you hit a trend line a bunch of times, you break down, and then there's this kind of nature of markets and psychology to retest that line, right? So you go back to kind of test home base where you broke down. Your next move is in the stock market is to the downside. I think that's going to be a big move to the downside here. And again, the thought process here is that the system is now breaking. What we're going to see is actually the market start to head towards recession. I think, remember, we talked about the second half of 2023 as being the recessionary period where recession hits. The Fed is going to be unable to really cut rates substantially, even though they're not going to raise more. They're not going to be able to cut it substantially because we still see inflation out there above the 2% mandate. And that's going to be really problematic for stocks, not so much for cryptocurrency. Crypto is going to have the toughest time because the stock market is going to be risk off. So it'll take a little bit away from the crypto markets. But for the most part, stocks are going to suffer the worst, in my opinion.
Let's quickly look at gold, because we don't really always look at gold. You love gold. I mean, you're actually Peter Schiff in disguise.
That's not true because I'm not like an only
No,
gold.
no, you're not. But you do love gold as much as Peter Schiff loves gold.
That's true. Right now, I do. Correct. Yes.
Look. Also a God candle on gold. I mean, if you look at it, a big God candle on gold.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And again, so the key is with me with gold, and one of the reasons why I like it in this period is that to me, if inflation stays high, people are going to have to buy gold, right? If inflation comes down, but the economy spins into a recession, maybe deflationary serious, then what is left to buy? You could buy some Bitcoin or you could buy gold. And there's still a lot of money that doesn't trust crypto yet. And so gold is that play. So the reason why I'm so bullish on gold is that it kind of works in either scenario for the stock market going up or down and any which way. So yes, I am continuing to be that way. So what we're looking at here is the move in gold from 2018 up here, and this is now from 2020. So from 2018 to 2020, and from 2020 now to 2023. What you want to check out is this is going to blow your mind, right? Let's go back in history to the last time we saw gold. The last time we saw inflation at these levels was in the 1970s. And look at this move that we saw, right? You had an up move for about 2 to 3 years, pullback consolidation for 2 to 3 years, and then look at the run on gold. So if inflation is going to be reminiscent of the 70s, which is the last time we really saw it like this, then you could be looking at a major move up over the next 2 to 3 years in gold. I'm in that camp that I do think gold is going to rocket. I also think Bitcoin eventually is going to rocket. I just think there might be some more hardships in Bitcoin first. And the problem with silver, and listen, overall, I'm very bullish on silver as well as a commodity. When you have higher inflation for a long period of time, inevitably it's going to do well. The problem with silver, it's also an industrial metal. Remember, it goes into car batteries and all this other stuff. So if you do get a bad recession, there's going to be a part of a lower demand for it from the industrial side, which makes it a little trickier. Now, overall, silver has a historic means of outperforming gold, and I think ultimately it will. It's just in this uncertainty period going into maybe a recession, it's having a little bit more trouble here. When I think